My name is Pia Acevedo. I am the Vice Chair of the MAP Health Committee, and I'll be your MC for today's MAP General Members Meeting. Palakpakan naman dyan. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I have been a member since 2015, and I've been since always looked forward to active participation in our committees. So for our inductees, we're looking forward to you participating in the committees, and we will be orienting you also for your options. So on behalf of the MAP Board of Governors and the MAP Health Committee, I would like to call this MAP General Members Meeting to order. Almighty Father, we thank you for the gift of this gathering and for the opportunity to serve our nation through our respective vocations. As we reflect today on the vital role of healthcare in the life of our people and the future of our country, enlighten our minds and strengthen our resolve. Remind us that true prosperity is measured not only by economic growth or material success, but by the health, dignity, and well-being of every single Filipino. We ask you to bless the leaders, experts, and speakers who will share their knowledge and experiences with us today. Grant them clarity of mind, wisdom of heart, and generosity of spirit, that their words may enlighten our understanding, inspire thoughtful dialogue, and encourage us to view healthcare not merely as a service, but as a sacred responsibility and an essential foundation of resilient businesses, flourishing communities, and a just society. Grant us the courage to lead with integrity, the compassion to place people at the center of our decisions, and the perseverance to pursue initiatives that promote accessible healthcare, strengthen our institutions, and uplift the lives of those we are privileged to serve. Teach us to be wise stewards of these opportunities, Lord. You've entrusted to us the opportunity to build not only for the needs of today, but for the generations yet to come. May our efforts contribute to a nation that is healthier, stronger, more compassionate, and more united. All these we ask in your holy name. Amen.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang mag-ibig, tewas ng sinakalan, alam ng puso, sa titik mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyag ka ng magiting, sa manlulupin, di ka pasisigil, sa nanagang putok sa simoy at sa langit ng pagkak, ay hinatang tulang awit sa pagkayang minamahal. Ang isang ng matawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitindig, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magtitindig. Lumalang araw ng walhating pagsinta, buhay langit sa piling ko. Ang higaya na pagkay mga akin, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
We are now playing the MAP anthem. On the board are the lyrics of the MAP anthem.
Called to serve a greater aim, with wisdom born from practice, with courage tried and true. We raise the standard higher in all we say and do. We are the Management Association of the Philippines, united in purpose, driven to lead. We lead, we lift, we light the way for country, people, future day. With management excellence, our guiding flame, with integrity, our name. soldiers from a distance, but leaders in the storm. We are MAP, together strong, transforming. What's the norm? With action as our language and service as our stand, we rise to lift the nation and shape a better land. We lead, we lift, we light the way for country, people, future day. With management excellence, our guiding flame. With integrity, our name. MAP, we stand as one for the future we've begun. We lead, we lift, we build as one for the Philippines. We stand as one.
Let's give a hand to the MAP anthem. Yes, so we are on the soft launch of that MAP anthem, the video, music video to follow. Now we would like to hear from our president. May I call on the president of MAP, who is also the president and COO of Ditto CME Holdings Corporation. Please welcome Dr. Donald Lim.
Hey, good afternoon. Children, sit down. Take your seats. And eat muna. Okay. So to our distinguished guest speaker, Yusek, and panelists, partners from the government, diplomatic community, academe, media, fellow MAP members, dear friends, welcome. On behalf of the MAP Board of Governors, it is my honor and privilege to open today's MAP General Membership Meeting on the economics of healthcare. Strong companies, thriving communities. At the outset, I would like to thank our speaker and panelists for accommodating our invitation. Thanks are also in order for the MAP Health Committee, head by Committee Chair Gerald White, with Vice Chair Pia Acevedo, Carmi De Leon, and also, of course, Paulo Borromeo as the Governor in charge for organizing this GMM as part of our Big Issue series. As most of you know, our theme for 2026 is Leadership in Action, Lifting the Nation. So what have we done to help lift our nation? I know that the President's SONA is less than a month away, so allow me to give you our SOMA, State of MAP Address, as we capped off the first 6 months of MAP for 2026. Let me highlight some of the things that we've been doing. No? But again, we are answering the big question, what have we done so far to help lift the nation in the first 6 months? First, we continued and renewed our MAP's participation in the BIR PMSG, which aims to strengthen tax administration reforms. This was one of our key projects that we have. So we had, representing the various different business sectors, we met with our BIR commissioner. Next week, we will also have a special courtesy one-on-one session. Those of you who would want to join us, just let us know. Second, through an MAP joint statement co-signed by 5 other Philippine business groups, we declared our full support for the Presidential Anti-Organized Crime Commission, the DND, and the NBI, and the Armed Forces of the Philippines. We urged them to pursue the facts thoroughly, lawfully, and objectively, and to take appropriate action wherever violations are established by competent authorities and courts. There must be no undue interference, and all actions should remain guided by evidence, due process, and the public interest. Third, MAP has agreed to collaborate with the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict, or LCAC, in implementing a whole-of-nation approach and in pursuing development programs that help promote unity, lasting peace, and national development. So we're in Malacanang, and we are, as MAP, I represented all of you as to serve as the private sector representative for the NTF LCAC initiative. Fourth, MAP has consistently supported the initiatives of the Anti-Red Tape Authority or ARTA in eliminating red tape and improving the business environment through good regulatory practices, process streamlining and re-engineering, interagency collaboration, and the effective use of technology. We believe that supporting ARTA will help translate reforms into real savings of time, cost, and opportunity for Filipino entrepreneurs and investors. Fifth, Dapat Isa Lang. MAP has financially supported and agreed to be part of the Dapat Isa Lang movement, a non-partisan movement which seeks to break the cycle of corruption, poverty, weak accountability, and exclusion sustained by political dynasties. One of its main goals is to push for the passage of the anti-political dynasty law through a people's initiative. So we're going to have either a GMM or a special forum to discuss this further in the coming months. And thank you, Alex Cabrera, for helping us with that. Six is the MAP HEI Structured Internship Program. Last week, we had the MOA signing for the MAP HEI Structured Internship Program. Through this structured internship program, qualified and carefully selected students from our partner HEIs will undertake 6-month full-time internship in MAP membership companies. They will gain more than technical skills, but will also learn professionalism, discipline, collaboration, accountability, resilience, and leadership, the qualities that no textbook alone can fully teach. 7 MAP member companies signed MOAs with 7 higher educational institutions. We have addressed the following national issues in our monthly GMMs: the economy, the trade crisis, the traffic crisis, energy security, our ASEAN chairship, national resilience, among others. So we are really taking an active, dynamic role in national development and national leadership and ASEAN leadership as our drive and focus for our GMMs. With the help of the ASEAN-backed Philippines, we have reached out to the embassies of the ASEAN countries to solicit their recommendations on which business or management organization should represent their countries in the ASEAN Management Association Network, or AMAN. AMAN is envisioned as a platform that will strengthen collaboration among ASEAN management organizations through the sharing of best practices, knowledge exchange, and capacity building. Through AMAN, we aim to promote stronger management and organizational practices across the region, facilitate engagement among leading management associations, and support the broader goals of the ASEAN Economic Community through a culture of management excellence. In March, MAP signed an MOU with ASEAN-backed Philippines for supporting the creation of AMAN, and this initiative builds upon the foundation of the collaboration agreement that MAP signed in 2023 with the Singapore International Chamber of Commerce and the Thailand Management Association. MAP's reach continues to grow beyond Metro Manila. Last April 23, we successfully held our 6th MAP General Membership Meeting and Economic Briefing in Cebu, bringing together leaders and members from across the regions. This is part of our ongoing commitment to make MAP more inclusive, more accessible, and more representative of the nation's economic landscape. On that day, we had 148 attendees, including 23 Cebu-based members, 16 members from Manila, 19 Cebu-based inductees, and 96 guests from the area. This has increased the Cebu-based members by 26% from 72 to 91. We are deepening our understanding of critical sectors, specifically energy. Through the Energy 101 series of 3 sessions, the MAP Energy Committee is equipping members with foundational insights into energy pricing, policy, and systems, so that MAP's discussion and advocacies are grounded in knowledge and guided by facts. There's a third one coming, so I hope you all attend. The board is now working on MAP book on our MAP book on the MAP president, which will be a fundraising project whose proceeds will finance the MAP CSR programs. The book is envisioned to present inspirational stories on leadership traits and management practices of MAP past presidents that are worth emulating by young and future leaders and managers. The book launch will be held during the September 8 MAP International CEO Conference. The search for the MAP Management Person of the Year is now underway and heavily battled. This is more than an award, and it is a recognition of leadership that transforms industries and uplifts the nation. I encourage each of you to nominate individuals whose impact deserves to be recognized and emulated not later than July 17. So 1 week from now, we will start the judging process. Ongoing now is the 6th SGV MAP Next Gen CEO Transformative Leadership Program. For over 5 months, 16 handpicked MAP Next Gen members will be immersed in a journey of mentorship, learning, and transformation, preparing them to lead with vision, courage, and purpose. This is ongoing. So for those who are still Next Gen, next year you can also become part of this. No? On April 8, we had the 3rd MAP Summit on Shared Prosperity on the theme Shared Prosperity and Steward Governance Towards Our Dream Philippines. March 10, MAP BDB Law Breakfast Dialogue. We conducted the MAP BDB Law Breakfast Dialogue with ASEAN Business Advisory Council Chair Joey Concepcion. And this breakfast dialogue, again hosted by our past President Dick Dubaladad, is a closed-door huddle of government officials and business leaders to discuss burning issues of the day, exploring areas of cooperation, and be enlightened on game-changing policy directions. The May 15 MAP Golf Cup for CSR generated about 1.3 million, which went to the MAP CSR Fund that finances MAP's programs on health, education, and food security. CAMAX, or our campaign against malnutrition and child stunting, remain a top priority. That is why we have been devoting 10 minutes of every GMM this year for presentations on programs which aims to contribute to the improvement of the overall nutritional status of Filipino children and lactating mothers. Last year, the Health Committee launched our Cancer Awareness Program as part of our 75th anniversary. Our programs include the establishment of a 7.5 million cancer fund to help with MAP members undergoing treatment. Delighted to announce that today, the board approved the initial pledge of 700,000 to kickstart the fundraising. We invite all our MAP members to participate in this pledge. To help ensure food security, MAP will collaborate with the Visayas State University for commercial applications of VSU's research projects on root crops in line with MAP's CAMAX and resiliency programs. MAP, through our Agribusiness Committee, has identified the VSU for its successful breakthrough research projects on root crops, notably sweet kamote, and for VSU's actual commercial applications in cooperation with partner cooperatives and micro and small enterprises. Since January, MAP has signed or co-signed statements on various issues. July 8, joint statement on the expansion of PhilHealth benefits. June 25, joint statement of support for our defense and law enforcement agencies. June 16, joint statement on House Bill number 8389. June 3, joint statement entitled Beyond Prosecution, the Reforms Still Unfinished. Preventing the next scandal requires more than a punishing the last. May 25, MAP statement entitled MAP urges our senators to restore the credibility of the Senate. May 14, joint statement on the impeachment trial of the Vice President. March 30, joint statement on protecting the Filipino consumers. March 17, letter to PBBM concerning the search for the next tourism secretary. And Feb 24, pahayag ukol sa mga dinastiyang political at sa House Bill 6771. As proposed by the MAP Nomination and Election Committee, the MAP Board approved recently the following additional qualifications of MAP Governor. Before, it was anyone can join, anyone can be nominated. Now, not anymore. You have to abide by 3 other criteria. 1, you must be in good standing for the past 3 years. Second, you must have attended at least 3 GMMs in the last 12 months immediately preceding the start of the nomination period. And finally, you must be a member of any committee every year for the past 3 years. This ensures that who we are nominating to be part and who will be joining the board is already an active member of MAP. Okay? Those who are qualified for nomination for MAP governors for 2027-2028 should have received by now a letter from MAP Nomination and Election Committee Chair Tammy Lipana. So please respond by July 17 if you are interested to run for governor or not. If you have not received your copy of the MAP directory, please claim it at the registration desk. So again, this is only for members. MAP has partnered with RG Manabat and Company, which is KPMG in the Philippines, for the second MAP KPMG Technology Summit, which was held on June 30, 2026 at Shangri-La The Fort. This event, which started at 1 and finished at almost 7 p.m., generated a total participants of 267 and a net income of 1.1 million. We're not busy, diba? Okay, next. We are now developing the MAP Anthem, which aims to inspire leadership and foster a stronger sense of identity. Rehearsals are ongoing every week. Tonight is the last day of the rehearsals, and we will be performing, and it will be performed by 20 to 30 selected MAP members, a la We Are the World in 1985. Later on, to those who are still here, when we adjourn the meeting, every one of you who are still here, you will sing the MAP anthem and we will just shoot you. Okay? So you can do lip sync, we won't capture, we'll improve your voice, don't worry. Right? But that's something we to appreciate, the MAP anthem. We are currently working on MAP Signature, which is envisioned as the official lifestyle brand of MAP, offering premium apparel, executive accessories, publications, and collectibles that embody leadership, excellence, and service to the nation. The MAP Signature seeks to strengthen member pride, reinforce the MAP brand, and establish a sustainable, non-juice revenue stream for the association. Every product carrying the MAP signature name represents the values and aspirations of the country's premier organization of business leaders. The board this morning approved the following MAP fundraising, other fundraising activities kasi wala kami masyadong ginagawa. Yeah. So next. First, bowling for a cause. So we'll have Beanie and other celebrities to join us in a bowling tournament, fun tournament. And I created a rule: one frame should be using your left hand. Okay, so we're working on this. This should be around September. So we'll get this going, no? August or September. Another is apparently due to some popular demand, we will be launching our very first Mahjong for a cause. I encourage all the MAP players who know how to play Mahjong to join us for this fundraising. Who here can play? There are only 64 slots, so please sign up as soon as possible. And the winner goes up against our current champion, which is Arnold Salvador, an expert Mahjong player. Okay. Forthcoming events. So this weekend, we're supposed to have a whole day immersion in Lian, Batangas, but due to the weather, we are postponing this to either next Saturday or next Saturday. But this is a very interesting event by the MAP Environment Committee. I hope all of you would take time to join. It's just one, before it's Friday to Sunday, we're now making it just one Saturday for you to be immersed in this activity. You will learn more about DLSU's AL1 project. No, they actually spoke in our GMM last year. No, so we're asking all of our members to join and be part of this activity to understand this event further. On July 15, as the culmination of our MAP Energy 101 series, may I invite you to the third and final installment of our Energy 101 series. Our keynote speaker is Attorney Francis Saturnino Juan, who is the chairperson and CEO of the ERC. No, and this is hosted by the MAP Energy Committee. On July 30, we will have we will also be having our MAP Next Gen Committee CEO Immersion Series. When we launch this, be my guest. No? So understanding the Maharlika Investment Corporation. We will have an exclusive tour and conversation with the leader shaping long-term national development. We have 40 slots apparently. When we launched this, the 40 slots were taken already. So if you're interested, you have to negotiate with any of the 40 who have confirmed to give you their slot. No, but this is full already. Okay. On July 30, we will be having a joint welcome reception with AmCham, MBC, and the U.S. ASEAN Business Council for the new U.S. Ambassador to the Philippines, Ambassador Lee Lipton. The limited seats will be distributed to MAP members on a first-come, first-served basis. If you are interested, please Viber Arnold immediately. Please join us, second MAP GMM in Iloilo on July 31 after our reception with the U.S. Ambassador. MAP's partner organization in Iloilo will still be with the Iloilo Economic Development Foundation, headed by MAP member Roel Castro. Please join our 24th MAP International CEO Conference 2026 on September 8. This year's theme, In the Age of Flux, Scaling the Next Inflection Points, challenges us to rethink leadership in a time when change is constant and disruption is the norm. Also, join us the day after on the first RCEP, or Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Business and Investment Summit, September 9, which is presented by the East Asia Business Council as the second day of the MAP International CEO Conference. You will hear more about the September 8 conference and September 9 summit from the MAP CEO Conference Chair Alma Jimenez later on. No, but again, block off already, 8 and 9, very big days for us. We are organizing the MAP GMM in Davao on September 17. In September 17. Our partner organizations will be the Davao Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and again, we will be expecting us to start our Davao chapter there. On August 15, we have partnered with the Armed Forces and the Reservists Association. We will be having a community and medical mission in Santa Rosa, Laguna. We are asking all the members to join us. This is a whole day event in Santa Rosa, and all the MAP reservists will be required to join us. So I know there are around almost 20 of the MAP reservists here coming from the Army, Navy, and Air Force. We will be doing this medical mission to the Santa Rosa community in partnership with the Santa Rosa LGU. Okay, and then please join us for the 7th Next Gen Conference on October 26. Kunti lang kasi events natin. So MAP Next Gen Conference, the 7th already. So I started the first one, and we're very happy that this is now continuing and brought to life. The Next Gen Committee, again, not here, your big project, and we expect that, again, led by Paulo, we're hoping to earn substantially from this, So a lot of the projects we're doing actually goes to our CSR fund, So that's our Next Gen. Okay, so Forthcoming MAP, just take a picture. This is a summary of all our, not all, summary of some of our events. I hope all of the MAP members here are part of the Viber group and our Viber community, so you will be updated, no, on everything that's happening, no. So the first 6 months in 2026 have been very productive in pursuing MAP's mission of promoting management excellence for nation building. So if you think the first 6 months we're not busy, okay, you will wait for the next 6 months what we will be doing. Thank you, all of you, for your support and your commitment. I hope all of you still become, be active and join us in all our activities. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Donald Lim. Half year pa lang yon, ang dami na natin nagawa, no? Just half of the year. At this point, we would like now to give 10 minutes for CAMAX time. CAMAX refers to the MAP's campaign against malnutrition and child stunting, whose objective is to help eradicate malnutrition and contribute to the improvement of the overall nutritional status of the Filipino children and lactating mothers. May I now call on the Health and Nutrition Technical Program Manager of the World Vision Development Foundation, who will now talk about their own advocacy against malnutrition. Please welcome Cristel Grace Cubelo.
A pleasant afternoon to everyone. So first, I would like to thank the Management Association of the Philippines for inviting World Vision Development Foundation for this CAMAX time. So it is encouraging to see leaders in the business sectors to find time or prioritize malnutrition, especially for children. So before that, let me begin by introducing World Vision, where I belong. So World Vision is a Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with the vulnerable children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. So World Vision aspires to empower children, families, and communities to build better lives and our future. And our vision in World Vision is really to provide children the life in all its fullness. And our prayer is for every heart the will to make it so. But we cannot really say that a child has achieved its life in all its fullness if we don't consider health and nutrition. Thus, we need to also look into the health and nutrition situation of the Philippines. So Philippines is currently suffering from the triple burden of malnutrition. So we know that we are still struggling to address undernutrition, but at the same time, there is increasing cases of overweight and obesity. And at the same time, we also have occurrences or prevalence of micronutrient deficiencies in the country. And recently, the DOST FNRI released the FNRI National Nutrition Survey updating for this 2025. And if you would notice, so although there has been a persistent decline of cases of malnutrition, but unfortunately in 2025, there has been a slight increase of cases of malnutrition. So we can zero in on stunting because this is what we have observed as the highest or relatively highest form of public health significance in terms of malnutrition. So as you would notice, 1 in every 4 children in the Philippines is stunted. So if we take a pause and consider in one household, if they have 4 children, 1 of which is undernourished or stunted. And it also spells a chronic malnutrition of that child. And more appalling, if you look at the map right now, it's all shades of red. So that also indicates the severity of malnutrition, specifically on stunting in the country today. So why do we need to focus on addressing stunting and malnutrition. So we know that during the most critical period of a child's life, from pregnancy until it's 2 years, the child did not receive adequate nutrition, healthcare, and nurturing care needed for healthy growth and development. And we know that nutrition matters, especially in the early child of the development of the child, because they are essential for shaping the child's brain, growth, learning, and future well-being. Well, perhaps you have seen this illustration wherein it shows or it depicts the brain of a normal, healthy child as compared to an undernourished one. So, if a child starts its life malnourished, that child is already a disadvantage before even entering the classroom. So based on the study conducted by Nutrition International, so here is the cost of stunting in the Philippines. Perhaps at the family level, we would consider that it should be the responsibility of the parents. But if we're talking about millions of children who are stunted, perhaps it has to be considered as a national development issue. Based on the study a couple of years ago, Philippines was ranked as sixth in terms of highest prevalence of stunting in East Asia and Pacific, and 36th highest in the world out of the 175 countries surveyed. And based on their projection, stunting is costing our economy around 496 billions every year because it affects mortality, even IQ points lost per year because of stunting, and there are also school years lost because of this situation. So, why is it difficult for the Philippines to address malnutrition? It is more complex as it seems. It's beyond just feeding children. Because if you will notice, so the immediate causes of malnutrition is inadequate food intake and disease. But it goes beyond that because if you look at the underlying causes, we have household food insecurity, improper care and feeding practices, and perhaps there's not enough or lack of health services and healthy environment for the children. And of course, all of these are affected as well by the social, economic, and political context in the country. So where do we go? So where do we start our interventions? Because it's not just about feeding people. It's about having a multi-sectoral approach to address malnutrition, given that this is a complex issue, not just a problem of feeding. So, for World Vision, we try to contribute in addressing malnutrition by focusing on the early childhood care and development. When we say ECCD or early childhood care and development, we are aiming for holistic development of children under 5 years old, where it covers health, nutrition, early learning, responsive caregiving, and protection. But we also emphasize the first 1,000 days, which is the critical period for children, where rapid brain growth makes children highly responsive to nutrition, stimulation, and positive interactions. So, in our interventions, we focus on healthy bodies, safe environments for the children, nurturing caregivers, opportunities for learning or for early learning, and to have a strong family and community support systems. So what are the specific interventions that World Vision has right now that addresses child malnutrition? First is the GROW GMP or the Growth Monitoring Promotion. It is more of a health system strengthening approach wherein we support our area programs in terms of delivering nutrition services in their respective communities. So we help families track their children's growth, take early action against malnutrition, and contribute to stronger public health goals. Because we really need to be, the approach should be more of preventive rather than curative in terms of malnutrition. Another one that we focus on is on behavior change of the parents themselves. So we do have a project approach called Go Baby Go, or GBG, where we target first 1,000 days of life and aims to build knowledge, skills, and resilience, promoting techniques to improve the parenting practices at the household level. So it targets primary caregivers, empowering them with knowledge and skills and resilience to fulfill their pivotal role as nurturers of the children, play partners, and the protection of children as well. So in providing a Go Baby Go parenting program, so we focus on these components of the nurturing care framework, which is the backbone of the early childhood care and development. So we discuss or integrate health and nutrition, responsive caregiving, security and safety, opportunities for early learning, and in addition, we include integrated wash or water sanitation and hygiene to complement our initiatives. And aside from that, we collaborate with other groups or organizations such as the COICA, or Korean International Corporation Agencies for Maternal and Neonatal Child Health, Roots to Shoots with Filipina Shell Foundation and Manila Water Foundation, and an MMS, or Multiple Micronutrient Supplement for Pregnant and Lactating Women, in partnership with Sites in Life. Okay, so for World Vision, so we do. Okay. So we do partner with different organizations with the same agenda. So let's work together in addressing malnutrition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cristel from World Vision. So it's costing us 496 billion a year because of the stunting. No? Let's move on now to a continuous engagement. I will now be inviting over Attorney Benedicta Dubalagad for the launch of Volume 2 of the ICD-MAP book entitled Corporate Governance in Practice this 2026. Let's give her a round of applause, Attorney Dick.
Good afternoon, everyone. Corporate governance is often defined by rules, policies, and processes. But more than that, it is leadership. It is about making the right decisions, doing what is right, even when it is difficult, and earning the trust of the people. In the Philippines, the Institute of Corporate Directors and the Management Association of the Philippines have played a major role in raising the standards of corporate governance. Together, we have helped make global governance principles more practical and relevant for Philippine organizations. Through our collective efforts, we have also helped align Philippine governance practices with ASEAN and international standards, strengthening leadership, accountability, and long-term success. So in 2019, this shared commitment led to the publication of Corporate Governance in Practice, a casebook, Volume 1. Instead of focusing only on concepts, it used real-life cases to show the challenges that directors and business leaders face. It reminded us that governance is not just a slogan. It is not just about knowing the rules. It is about making sound decisions in real situations. So today, we are proud to launch the second volume. This new volume builds on that strong foundation while responding to an environment that has become more dynamic and more demanding. Since 2019, boards have had to navigate rapid technological change, increasing sustainability expectations, evolving stakeholder demands, and greater alignment with ASEAN and global governance standards. Governance today requires not only technical knowledge, but also sound judgment, thoughtful deliberation, and principled leadership. Volume 2 brings these challenges to life through practical cases based on situations that directors and executives may encounter. These cases are not meant to provide ready answers. Instead, they encourage discussions, critical thinking, and better decision-making. This edition follows a stronger and more consistent case-writing approach based on the ICD's updated standard. The cases present governance issues more clearly, offer balanced views, and focus on the important decisions that boards face today. This book, you can find that on the lobby, they are being displayed, is more than just a collection of cases. This book is an investment in future leaders, and we hope that it becomes a valuable resource for directors, executives, educators, students, and governance professionals. So on behalf of everyone who worked on this project, and on behalf of BD Bilo, a proud partner in the development of Volume 2, I sincerely thank MAP for its continued partnership and support in making this publication possible. I thank all the authors, the editors, the reviewers, and everyone who contributed their time and expertise to this book. At this point, may I now call on the following to come up on stage for the presentation of the book to MAP President Donald Lim. So from ICD, may I request our Tammy Lipana, our President. I think Dr. Jess Stanislao was not able to make it. He is our Chair Emeritus. Attorney Pete Maniego, Chair of ICD Thought Leadership Committee, and Dr. Mon Sigismondo, Chair of the Casebook Project. From MAP, we have Dr. Donald Lim, President, Maan Hontiveros, Vice President, Mr. Wilson Tan, Treasurer, and Paulo Borromeo, Assistant Treasurer. Thank you and good afternoon. And by the way, konting the book is there. We are giving 10% discount to all MAP members as part of our partnership agreement. Thank you.
Let's give them a round of applause. ICD, Institute of Corporate Directors. This is the second volume of the book. In the 75 years of MAP, we now have another resource for the foundation of good governance, of course, corporate practice. Another round of applause, please. Salamat. Congratulations. Congratulations. Salamat, Attorney Dick. Volume 2, 10% discount outside. Now to give us a glimpse of the 24th MAP International CEO Conference, malapit na ang inyong induction, ang ating mga bagong members. Soon after this, we have a first RCEP Business and Investment Summit. May now call on our favorite MAP Special Advisor of our Cluster Governance Programs and the Chair of the MAP CEO Conference Committee, Undersecretary Alma Jimenez. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, Pia. Good afternoon, everyone. The 24th International CEO Conference will be held on September 8, 2026. But this year, it will be twin-billed with the first Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership Business and Investment Summit, which we will co-present with the East Asia Business Council through the Committees of CEO Conference and International Relations. The conferences were designed to serve as platforms for consequential conversations at consequential time. Never before have leaders had access to so much information, yet rarely have they faced so much uncertainty. Every day, we are presented with new reports, forecasts, technologies, market movements, geopolitical developments, economic indicators, and predictions about the future. We are living in a world of unprecedented connectivity, where change is no longer occurring one trend at a time, but across multiple fronts simultaneously. These changes are no longer isolated events. They are interconnected, they reinforce and accelerate one another, and together they create an environment that is increasingly complex, dynamic, and difficult to predict. This is living in the age of flux, not simply because of rapid change, but the convergence of multiple forces transforming the environment in which leaders must make decisions. And therein lies the challenge, because leadership today is no longer measured by how much we know, but how well we discern what truly matters. Within this environment are constant movements that quietly redefine the future. These are inflection points, the moments when yesterday's assumptions no longer explain tomorrow's realities, when organizations either position themselves for the future or spend years trying to catch up with it. The question, therefore, is no longer whether change is happening, but whether we are recognizing the signals that matter before they become obvious to everyone else. And more importantly, when we do recognize them, do we have enough creative fuel, the conviction, and the strategic discipline to act? This year's theme is a conversation that genuinely needs to happen. In the age of flux, scaling the next inflection point. Because identifying an inflection point is only the beginning. The harder work is in scaling our response, our thinking, our capabilities. It is in scaling innovation, partnerships, and leadership itself. In this age where information is abundant, the true advantage belongs to leaders with the judgment to recognize what matters most and to act on it. In this age of accelerating complexity, the organizations that will thrive in the years ahead will not necessarily be those with the greatest resource, but those with the greatest clarity of judgment. Age of Flux describes the world and offers answers to the question, what kind of environment are we in? Scaling the next inflection point describes the leader's response. It answers the question, what must we do given this environment? These questions are actually two halves of leadership. One half is diagnosis, the other is agency. That is the conversation we hope to convene through this conference and summit. Not another discussion about trends, another collection of forecasts, but a meaningful dialogue about how leaders make better decisions in an increasingly uncertain world. Throughout these days, we have deliberately designed every session to build upon the next. We begin by understanding the signals shaping the global and regional landscape, and we examine the structural shifts transforming economies, industries, organization, workforce, and society. We explore the strategic choices leaders can no longer postpone, and we hear from individuals who have had the courage to build, invest, innovate, and lead amid uncertainty. The objective is not simply to help participants understand what is changing, but to help them decide what to do about it. The future has never been certain, and MAP CEO conferences through the years had always maintained to be where we find not to be where we can find the answers, but where we can ask better questions. This year, we are aiming for something even more fundamental, for leaders to recalibrate their judgment, because in an age where as I said, information is abundant, it becomes the scarce resource. And in that space is where we hope the conference and the summit may make the most valuable contribution. With that, we warmly invite you to join us as we navigate the age of flux and together scale the next inflection points. So I hope to see you all in September with your attendance and, of course, as your partner through your sponsorships. Thank you very much. And we would like to show now the audiovisual presentation for this. Thank you.
Every generation of leaders faces defining moments. When familiarity gives way to the unfamiliar, when assumptions are challenged, and when the decisions made today shape the opportunities of tomorrow. Today, we are in an age of flux, a time when technology, geopolitics, trade, capital, demographics, and societies are changing all at once. The pace of change has accelerated, the forces driving it increasingly interconnected, and the future no longer be understood by just one trend in isolation. Within this constant state of change lie inflection points, moments where small shifts create profound and lasting impact. For leaders, it is no longer simply keeping pace with change, but to recognize the signals that matter, make the strategic choices that count, and build agile organizations that thrive amid uncertainty. This is the conversation we invite you to join. The MAP 24th International CEO Conference, In the Age of Flux, Scaling the Next Inflection Points, on September 8th, and the EABC's first summit, Business in the RCEP Economy, Competing, Connecting, and Scaling Across East Asia, on September 9th. Be with global thought leaders, business visionaries, policymakers, and innovators, and explore what is changing, what it means, and what leaders must do next. Because the future will not be shaped by those who predict it. It will be shaped by those who are prepared to lead it.
Yan. Thank you so much, Yusek Alma Jimenez, one of my inspirations for being a member here at MAP. We're really looking forward now to the next section of our program. And remember, new members, meron tayong mahjong, meron tayong bowling, meron tayong golf, at meron tayong Viber group na kailangan lahat tayo makasama. All right. I will now be presenting the new MAP members for induction. And I'm pleased to announce that this afternoon we are inducting 20 new MAP members. Yes! That will increase our membership to 1,381. Palakpakan naman dyan. Okay? We will eradicate and help with the stunting and of course the 496 billion a year cost of insufficient health care. I will now read the inductees' names one by one and welcome you on stage. Mr. Milo Alejo, Head of Risk and Insurance Management of Ascent Corporation. Ms. Maricris Aldaver Ismael, CFO of Landco Pacific Corporation. Ms. Suzette Aison, Head of Private Wealth of BPI Asset Management and Trust. Ms. Maria Angelica Balanque, Senior Vice President of Sumitomo Mutsuo Banking Corporation. Ms. Lorena Chanel Chua, Stakeholder Engagement Specialist Consultant for Water and Urban Development of Asian Development Bank. Mr. Jose Maria C. Fernandez Cuervo, President of Cuervo Appraisers, Inc. Mr. Jed Estanislao NextGen, Chief Marketing and Experience Officer of Eastern Communications. Ms. Joel Garcia, also with NextGen, Assurance Partner and Markets Leader for Bacolod and Iloilo SGV & Co. Mr. Joey Garcia, President and CEO of 8 Holdings, 8 Holdings. Attorney Winston Hines, or Wins, Managing Partner of Quail, Hines, Beltran, and U Law Offices, and former LTFRB Chair. Mr. Calvin Cochet Chua, Senior Vice President and Chief Legal Government Relations and Sustainability Officer of Pru Life Insurance Corporation of the UK. Mr. Harold M. Macapagal, Chairman and CEO of Inspire Inc. Ms. Maria Riza Soriano Nicart, Managing Director of Cisco Systems Management BV. Mr. Jericho Jonas B. Nograles, President and CEO of National Power Corporation, National Power Corp. Attorney Paulo Ong, another next gen, Assistant Director for the FinTech Innovation Office of Securities and Exchange Commission. Ms. Charmaine Ann Umali Cruz Peralta, COO of Inspire Software and Technology Solutions Inc. Yusek Huabili or Billy Racho, Deputy Director General of Anti-Red Tape Authority or ARTA. Mr. Romeo Tan or Romy, CEO of LCC Malls. Dr. Felix Revilla, CEO and of the Medical City TMC, Iloilo. Last but not the least, Mr. Andrew Wee, also for Next Gen, President of Philippine International Development Inc. or FIDCO. At this point, I'd like to call on the MAP President, Dr. Donald Lim, to lead the induction of the new MAP members. Please all rise to add solemnity to this occasion.
So, to the members, you know already, they've all undergone a rigorous process from being nominated to going through the membership committee, going to the board, going through all of you, and you approved. No, they approved all your membership. No, so it's not an easy process. No, but you're now part of the premier management organization of the country. No? So now, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do hereby solemnly pledge that I will perform well and faithfully, to the best of my ability, my duties as a regular member, in order to contribute to the achievement of the objectives of the Management Association of the Philippines. So help me God. So congratulations and welcome to MAP. I hope you all be active.
We will just be collecting your pieces of paper. So another 20 members to be added to the MAP. Palakpakan naman dyan. That brings our count to 1,381 in 75 years. Ito na po tayo today. Yan. Posing po for the picture. Compress. Pwedeng mag quarter turn para magkasya. Oh, I can. Let's give our new members another round of applause. One of many GMMs that you will be participating in, and maybe one day you will be inviting other members to join us. In the interest of time, I will skip a long introduction for our speaker. DOH Secretary Ted Herbosa, unfortunately, cannot join us today due to a surgery. let's say a special prayer for Sec Ted, who is undergoing surgery today. But he has prepared a video recording for us. And let us watch this video greeting from Secretary Teodoro Herbosa.
Dr. Donald P. Lim, President, Management Association of the Philippines. To the Board of Governors, senior executives, and members of MAP, ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant day to everyone. It is a distinct honor to address the Management Association of the Philippines today. MAP has long been a pillar of national progress, steering the country's business landscape with foresight, excellence, and a deep sense of civic responsibility. We in the government deeply appreciate this platform to align our visions for a healthier nation. The Department of Health continues to anchor its direction on the 8-point action agenda, pursuing 3 major goals: better health outcomes, stronger health systems, and access to all levels of healthcare. At the heart of this transformation is the aggressive push for reforms under the Universal Healthcare Law. To bring healthcare closer to every Filipino, we are expanding primary care networks and optimizing referral systems through our BUCAS or Bagong Urgent Care and Ambulatory Services Centers and YAKAP accredited facilities. We are ensuring that essential medical services are readily available right within the communities where our people live and work. Furthermore, we are addressing the economic burden of illness. Our zero balance billing policy in DOH Hospital is now actively implemented across all 83 hospitals and 4 government-owned and controlled corporations or GOCC hospitals. I am proud to share that through these initiatives and interventions, we have driven down out-of-pocket spending in healthcare from 44.7% in 2022 to 41.2% in 2025. While these milestones are promising, true and lasting UHC cannot be achieved by the public sector alone. The most enduring health systems in the world are built on a bedrock of dynamic public and private partnerships. This is where MAP's leadership becomes indispensable. We welcome the opportunity to cultivate deeper, more innovative avenues of collaboration with MAP's diverse industries. Beyond corporate social responsibility, we view the private sector as a critical co-architect of our health infrastructure, whether through technology integration, supply chain optimization, or health infrastructure development. Moreover, as captains of industry, you hold the unique power to transform workplace wellness by investing heavily in your employees' health literacy and health navigation. You are not only protecting your workforce, but directly boosting national productivity. A healthy workforce is the ultimate driver of a competitive economy. Let us join hands to bridge gaps, build capacity, and ensure that quality healthcare becomes a reality for every Filipino. Thank you, MAP, for your commitment to lifting the nation, and we eagerly look forward to the vast opportunities for collaboration ahead. Dahil sa bagong Pilipinas, bawat buhay mahalaga. Maraming salamat at mabuhay kayong lahat.
Salamat, Secretary Ted Herbosa. To kick off our discussion on the economics of healthcare, stronger companies and thriving communities, we actually have the Department of Health Undersecretary Albert Domingo, who will now be representing Secretary Ted Herbosa. Let us all welcome Undersecretary Albert Domingo.
Thank you so much, and I can feel the pressure. I see so many familiar faces. Magandang hapon po sa kanilang lahat. Good afternoon, everyone. So, special greetings, of course, to Dr. Donald Lim and the members of the 2026 Management Association of the Philippines Board of Governors. Those present here, Marian Ontiveros, Wilson Tan, Paulo Borromeo, Attorney Michael Toledo, Maria Teresa Marshall, and Jaime Bautista, former Secretary Bautista. I also saw a while ago former Secretary Babes Singson, who is also in the room, I understand. Always glad to see Secretary Singson. So this is a brief discussion. I would rather have more questions and answers later. But of course, there are slides to set the context on what exactly are the economics of healthcare in the Philippines. I am not a trained health economist. My field is in health systems and public policy. A medical doctor by training who, they say, strayed away from the path of the clinics and dabbled in health administration and policy. The title is From Reform to Results, Strengthening Universal Healthcare Implementation. But before I go into the script, one thing that struck me was the prayer. Did you listen to the prayer that we all prayed earlier? And these were the key words that stuck with me. Health is the foundation of resilient businesses and just communities. Do you agree? Agree. It's called human capital theory. I mean, human capital typically is about skills, knowledge, and health. But I would even argue that you cannot get skills and knowledge if you have stunted children, because they will not learn what will make them better employees later on. But as my colleagues in the health sector will say, do not look at people as just instruments of labor. We can also say that healthy people are happy people, and happy people will be able to move our country forward. Next slide, please. We already had the message from the Secretary. Next slide, please. So I'll just go straight to the presentation. There are 4 key points in this slide deck. First, our baseline health financing situation. Second, what DOH and PhilHealth, which is an attached agency to the department, are doing to address these challenges. Third, the progress we are seeing so far. And finally, fourth, our request, our call to action for the Management Association of the Philippines, how you can help us realize the promise of universal healthcare. Next slide. Let us look first at the broader Philippine health system and health financing landscape before the current administration. Next slide. This is a very busy and complicated slide, but I would like you to please anchor your sights at the upper portion. Those are Republic Acts, 7160, 7875, 10351, 11223. Those are numbers. But if I will reveal what they are, 7160 is the Local Government Code, 7875 is the National Health Insurance Act, the PhilHealth Charter, 10351 is the Sin Tax Reform Act, and then 11223 is the Universal Healthcare Act. There is actually a longer version of legislation, of statutes that lead to the current situation of health right now in the Philippines, for good or for bad, for better or for worse. I would say that 7160 actually made it worse. I'm talking of devolution. Many people are arguing, why is it that the health sector was devolved when the education sector is not devolved and many other sectors are still national? Well, back in 1990, 1991, the problem was the lack of resources. Of course, we just graduated by a few dollars per capita into UMIC status. But the point is, the financial situation way back then is much different than now. The goal then was to optimize, to offload risk, to pass it on to someone else. Unfortunately, devolution sounded so nice, responsibilities, powers were passed on to local government units, but the resources did not follow. That's 7160. Government tried to do risk pooling, and we are actually way ahead of Obamacare. Obamacare was being deliberated in 2008. Even Thailand, I think Universal Care, the UC scheme of Thailand was around early 2000s. We actually had a universal healthcare law as early as 1995. But with many things in the Philippines, often the policies are well written. They're in English. They're actually guided by so many consultants, so many technical assistance firms, but implementation is always a difficulty. It was not until RA 10351 or the Sin Tax Law where money syntax, excise taxes, became available, and the increment of the excise taxes legislated in 2012 started coming in from tobacco and alcohol around 2013, 2014 to fund the premiums of indigent members of RA 7875 or the PhilHealth Law. Before RA 10351, you would see the enrollment of PhilHealth go up and down. It's like stock market, it goes up during an election year, and then it crashes after. Because during election years, everyone wants to be popular, they start enrolling their voters, their constituents. But after they win, the premiums are forgotten. Wait for the next 3-year cycle, and then enrollment goes up again. That was stabilized by RA 10351. However, when that happened, everyone was clapping. Secretary Ted was still an undersecretary at the time. The case rates came. Case rates allow for more efficient administration of reimbursements of PhilHealth. But the case rates, the value, the amount, the nominal amount of the case rates in 2013 did not change until 2023. 10 years, notwithstanding inflation in medical expenses and what have you, it only started going up in 2023. And I would even say that the market jump happened sometime 2024, 2025. Those who are running HMOs, who are running health insurance will actually, and who are also running hospitals will know this. And even the turnaround time lessened in PhilHealth payments only around last year or maybe this year. So we are actually still in a wave that's just going up. Hopefully we'll stay up for quite a while. Now the graph or the diagram at the bottom just simply illustrates, look at the broken lines. Those are the lines where the Department of Health, the, shall I say, what's that, dark? No, not dark blue. Anyway, the medium blue at the top cannot instruct the gray boxes at the bottom. That is the problem of devolution. People tend to assume that everything health is the Department of Health. No. The provincial health officers report to their provincial governors. The municipal health officers to their mayors. City health officers to their city mayors. We just hope, and they do, a lot of them do, but not all the time. Case in point, during the time of COVID-19, there were 2 or 3 provinces who did not wear face masks while the rest of us were wearing face masks. I will not mention which provinces and what time. Next slide, please. And just to show how further complicated it is, it's not only in terms of administration, it's also in terms of financing and also in terms of service delivery. How to read this slide is there is a dashed gray line in the middle, everything above with the orange lines talk about financing, everything with the green arrows and green lines below talk about service delivery. There are multiple payers. If you are a business manager of a clinic or hospital, this probably works in your favor because you can easily find payment. And the problem with that is the source of payments, ultimately, you will see later, falls on the family in this fragmented scenario. The Philippines has been trying to approximate, the dream has always been the National Health Service of the United Kingdom, where there is one single payer, what you call a monopsonistic payer. If there's a monopoly, there is also a monopsony. So that financer, that payer, can actually sort of dictate prices. Not exactly something that I should be telling perhaps before the Management Association of the Philippines. But that is not the point. The point is not to, in Tagalog, to barat. Hayo naming baratin kayo. We do not want to haggle your prices down. It's about efficiency. Secretary Ted has always been of this position that what we want to adopt now is a system where every 2 to 3 years, like in Japan or in South Korea, there is an honest-to-goodness negotiation where the private sector sits together with the public sector and the prices of benefit packages are negotiated and set for the next 2-year cycle or 3-year cycle so that it becomes more predictable. The problem kasi now is there is no negotiated set point. How does PhilHealth get its prices? Well, we do our best, and they're actually improving, believe it or not, for them to have a good sampling design when they look at cost information. Cost library. So those of you who are affiliated with hospitals, when PhilHealth reaches out to you for cost data, please cooperate and provide. Because if you withhold that, then the benefit packages will not increase. And what's going to happen is families, next slide, will shoulder most of the expenses. The dark blue bars at the bottom of this stacked bar graph, that is family out of pocket. The good news is we are back to the lowest it has been since 2014. 41.2 percentage points of current health expenditures. When did it happen? That was also 41.2 in the year 2021. But what was happening in 2021? We were all in line for vaccines against COVID-19. In other words, the fact that there was an influx of donated vaccines, and not just donated but also procured, DOH was buying heavily. That's why the I don't have a sense of the names of colors, light gray bar at the top increased in 2021. So in doing analysis of this trend, we usually discard 2020, 2021, and sometimes 2022 because those are pandemic years. All of the other years are baseline. That's why we are quite happy that look at the light yellow, lemon yellow sliver somewhere in the middle. That is your PhilHealth share. And if you notice, it's like an accordion. It expands, it contracts. Don't ask who the PCEO was at that particular year. You can always look at that up in Google. But depending on who is managing the corporation, and we would even say that Edwin Mercado is doing quite a good job at the moment, of course supervised by the board, we are now back up to 19.5% being paid for by PhilHealth, which happened way back 2015. So you can see the trend. The idea, simply, these are like sliders, is to bring down the dark blue, which is out of pocket, by increasing the other segments, particularly PhilHealth, hopefully as the largest segment, and then followed by national government spending. Next slide. Now, that was the financing picture. What is happening with our outcomes? The difficulty is no matter how much we are improving when it comes to the financing, the outcomes are either stagnant, horizontal arrows. Thankfully, no arrow went down, or maybe there are quite a few. Yes, the red arrows are the ones that practically went down. The white arrows mean stagnant. It's only one green arrow that kind of improved. But the problem is, and I'm sure the World Vision speaker earlier and Dr. Eloisa will say, the stunting went up again, diba? Kasi 33.4, 26.7 in 2021, but it kind of went up by a few percentage points again. So what is happening? How come we are seemingly improving when it comes to financing, but the outcomes, and these are only tracer indicators, this is not by any means a comprehensive set of health indicators, they are staying where they are. What needs to happen? It's not just about throwing money at the problem, diba? There's an infamous saying that if you keep throwing money at the problem and then the money is not spent properly, I'm probably preaching to the choir, business people, then it's not going to happen. Next slide. These challenges are where we are focusing our work on right now, so that the financing that we are trying to improve will be felt on the ground. The first priority action agenda item of the Department of Health Undersecretary Herbosa right now in Tagalog is bawat Pilipino ramdam ang kalusugan. Everyone should feel healthcare, not just see it on the balance sheets. Next slide. And it is in that spirit that the Department of Health, trying to fix the problem of devolution, short of asking for legislation to do that, which we are actively doing this year. I just heard that there was a call for inputs from the Senate committee that handles local government on possible amendments to the local government code. So of course we submitted our position, but that's going to take some time. Might actually be a next administration thing. But for now, there is in RA 7160 section 17F, 17 Foxtrot. If you read it verbatim, it's all about augmentation, where a lower unit of government, like a smaller LGU, does not have the resources or the wherewithal to implement health interventions. Higher units of government, including the highest unit of government, which is the national government, can step in to augment. In concrete terms, in concrete and metallic terms, because the Bukas centers are concrete, the mobile buses are metal, we are trying to, and digitalization is virtual, we are trying to intervene through those red boxes to the right. The way to appreciate this slide is these are different levels of care: primary care, secondary care, apex, and tertiary care. Different parts of it are taken care of by different levels of government. There are also different private sector actors depending on the level of care. But insofar as we are concerned, we are focusing on the lower levels, the ones closer to the people that we want to address, because those are also the areas where you can save costs. And I cannot overemphasize that red box at the rightmost part of the screen. Digitalization. I saw my classmate, Dr. Raymond Sarmiento, special shout out, nandito ka pala. If you're curious, yes, we belong to the same UP Medicine class. So digitalization is important so that referrals going up, referrals going down, and where have you will be coordinated. Imagine in an ideal situation where the EMR of Hospital A, whether public or private, can actually communicate with Clinic A or B, whether public or private, so that you do not have to get your blood drawn 2 times. Nagpakuha ka ng dugo in the ER of one hospital, and then just because you have to transfer to another hospital, they will ask you to get your blood drawn again. Ayaw nilang maniwala kunyari lang, sa Asian Hospital. Sasabihin ng kabilang, ito kasi Sir Beaver sa kabilang hospital, ayaw ko magbanggit ng pangalan kasi nandito rin sila. Ayaw paniwalaan kunyari. Ay, hindi pwedeng ganon. Dapat, pag na-encode na dun sa EMR or Electronic Health Record, which is the information handled by the EMR, it should be portable, it should follow us. We are doing it via, the stage right now is those who are digitally oriented. There has been a connectathon in Aklan just 1 or 2 weeks ago. We're working with the provincial health officer. Secret namin ni Dr. Raymond, kaklase rin namin yung provincial health officer ng Aklan. Kaya if you're wondering bakit yun yung pilot, di ba? Kasi to make it faster. So Dr. Leslie Luces has been working with us closely, and Governor Miraflores. There were 13 EMRs, vendors present in that connectathon. 10 EMRs passed. This was a table simulation, use case patient, nag-uusap sila. Meron lang 3 nag-fail. Of the 3 systems that failed, guess what the 2 are? Medyo nahihiya ako pero sabihin ko, iClinic SIS and iHomis, Department of Health. As the Chief Information Officer of the DOH, I also shook my head and I told my people, ladies and gentlemen, nakakahiya. We're pushing for interoperability, pero yung EMR natin, yung homegrown EMR ng public sector, nag-fail sa Connectathon. Therefore, sabi ko sa kanila, that is the reason why ayaw ni SecTed at ayaw ni Yusek Albert na mag-mandate ng single EMR sa lahat ng ospital. Kasi kita nyo na, kung kami nga, hindi kami makapag-usap sa sarili namin. Yan. So, yun yung state of affairs pagdating sa digitalization. But they committed to fix it, and we have partners working with us, ADB, UP Manila, National Telehealth Center, and many others are working to fix that. Next slide, please. So, let's go into the pictorials. There are now 62 fully operational bagong urgent care and ambulatory services centers. Nainggit kami sa St. Luke's eh. Nakita namin yung urgent care, among many other models. The Bukas Center is an urgent care center, DOH version. Siyempre may branding, kasi bagong Pilipinas. But sabi ni SecTed, ito yung sabi niya, para naman in the future, whoever wins as the next administration, hindi palitan yung pangalan. Huwag mo nang ilagay yung buong bagong Pilipinas. Lagyan mo nilang bagong. So, bagong urgent care and ambulatory service center. Everything that is urgent, that does not need admission to a hospital, can be handled by a Bukas Center. There are 62 fully owned and operational. They are owned and operated by the Department of Health hospitals. That is the secret sauce behind why this is successful. If they need doctors, the DOH hospital, which has a lot of doctors, will simply write a hospital personnel order and a doctor rotates. Usually, the family medicine residents are the ones that rotate, and consultants, the ones that rotate in these centers. You know what the number one benefit package of PhilHealth that is used most in the Bukas Center? It's the animal bite treatment package, yes. So we were talking with Bukas Center number 1, the first ever, and its medical center chief, Dr. Chuchoco of JB Lingad in Pampanga. It's Animal Bite Center. So, next slide. Financing can work if you have the service delivery point. But what about those who go to malls? Then you have here wellness clinics in malls. We have been partnering also both with SM, I think there's also a Robinsons version, and Gaisano, and many other, yeah, it's here in my notes. Robinsons, SM, Gaisano, and how can I forget? Nasaan si Paolo? Nawala siya. So kakalimutan ko yung Ayala Malls. De, partner rin namin yung Ayala. All, yan. He made sure. I wanted to remember to cite na all the mall operators are partners in this. And if you're not yet on the list, feel free to get in touch with us and we'll work something out. What is the assurance? What's in it for you? Human traffic, because people will keep coming and seeking consultations. Let us take care of the financing part for the services. Next slide. In my conversations at tableside, this is one of the things that has been hailed the most. And of course, because Consulta, the old name, used to be just 500 pesos capitation per head. Now it's up to 1,700. Because SecTed said, why stop at 500? Bring it up to 1,700. We might even bring it up further in the next few months. I don't know to what amount, but personally, I have seen studies a bit old, relatively a few years back, that if you're looking at honest to goodness capitation in the Philippines, the magic number is in the realm of around 3,500 pesos per head. But we cannot jump immediately to that because we don't want to drain all the coffers of PhilHealth for many other things. Next slide, please. So, I will not dwell on the specific medicines, but this list keeps on expanding. Everyone wants to get into the list because if you're on the list, probably you are guaranteed demand because PhilHealth will take care of that as long as you are within the negotiated prices of PhilHealth for those drugs. Next slide, please. Purok Kalusugan is another flagship program of the DOH. If there's the Bukas Center, which is the primary care center, Purok Kalusugan is the program that reaches out. These are the vaccination programs, house to house, nutrition counseling, and so on and so forth. Right now, it's happening in the most vulnerable LGUs. Again, this is augmentation because we notice that not all LGUs are able to do this for various reasons. Lack of manpower, lack of financial resources. So DOH steps in, the Center for Health Development or the Regional Health Office. What's up in the future? Next slide. We are working on a nationwide anti-hypertension program, protection para sa alta presyon, because hypertension prevalence is significant in the Philippines. Something like 8 million hypertensives, I think including yours truly. I'm taking my maintenance meds since 24 years old. So it is prevalent in the country, which means it has to be addressed. Next slide. Kaya nagtatry akong mag-cooking show. No? This is an unang hirit shot. Bakit nilagay ng staff ko yan? Anyway, this is a campaign for health promotion. Tamang pagkain, ehersisyo at disiplina sa katawan. Always when we are asked, what is the final message of DOH for everyone, for whatever disease entity, we say, simple lang yan. It is easy. If you want to make sure that you are always healthy, then tandaan nyo, tamang pagkain, ehersisyo at disiplina sa katawan. May English translation, the right food, exercise, and discipline. TED. Bakit kaya? Anyway, so, next slide. We are active in our campaigns against risk factors, particularly smoking and vaping. That's why my sincere regrets, I don't know if they're a member, but we respect her being a member, but we can never interact with tobacco industry actors. Pursuant to the WHO Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which is part of the law of the land. And we will keep campaigning because this is the only product that has a guaranteed 100% kill rate. Next slide. Now, we want to transform lives. There was also a few questions. There were a few questions asked of me about mental health. So, in the realm of mental health, that also includes substance use disorders, we approach that with a public health lens. And this is the helpline for substance abuse, 1550. If it's the mental health hotline you're wondering about, that's 1553. If you want to quit smoking and vaping, this is serious, you can try it later, you don't have to raise your hands, you can call 1558. That is handled by the Lung Center of the Philippines, counseling, and maybe smoking cessation programs, 1558. Next slide. I was given a reminder, konting extension lang. Ligtas Tigdas, community health through vaccination. We are now in phase 3 of our catch-up immunization because we don't want measles outbreaks to happen. Next slide, please. Ayan. Ito, this is one of the flagship, if not, this was announced in last year's SONA. I don't know if they will announce another thing, naabangan natin, this coming close to the end of July. Zero balance billing, the secret is the DOH hospitals are able to handle the excess costs. It is different from no balance billing of PhilHealth because PhilHealth has a cap on its benefit packages. Who's going to take care of the rest? The management of the hospital. So if it's a management decision, like in the DOH, syempre may national budget kami, it becomes zero. So, bibilisan ko nilang kasi time's up na ako. Next slide. Next slide. You can get a copy of my slides. I'm allowing the secretary to distribute. These are all numbers. Next slide. Gamot providers numbers ulit. Next slide. Show and tell na to eh. The ZBB. Pero na-discuss ko na yung core principles behind it. Next slide. Okay. Integration. Don't be afraid of integration. We have been driving this so that our provinces and cities will engage the private sector. Case in point, Laguna has no DOH hospital running at the moment, so they need to engage the private sector in healthcare. Next slide. Ito, I have to dwell a bit, sorry. Next slide. What is our ask for the Management Association of, next slide. For the Management Association of the Philippines, please invest via public-private partnerships. Take part with the UHC transformation. I promised Paolo, my seatmate, this noon. Next slide. Punta na tayo sa exciting part. Next slide. Ito, we can discuss that sa panel later. Investments in employee healthcare. I'm sure we can push for wellness, for smoking cessation, and many other things. Next slide. It's an economic strategy. Next slide. Nasaan na yung exciting part? Next slide. Yan. This is fresh. I had a meeting earlier this morning and the PPP Center sent staff over. We were discussing. The long story short of this, you can actually engage with us either as a PPP or as a purely private engagement. For example, if we have a health center that is not being used, that can be operated either way. Next slide. I will not go into the details for lack of time, but essentially, Paolo and everyone who's interested, the person I was discussing with earlier said, if you look at the right side, letter D is an exclusion in that person's perspective. When it comes to the PPP aspect, this is the new PPP code. It's about the nature of your business, whether you are delivering a public service or a purely private service. The mechanics we can discuss another time. Next slide. I think that is the last. Maraming salamat po and good afternoon.
So we've actually invited a very distinguished panel to help inform us, not just on a personal level, but a corporate and nation-building level. I would like to now invite up to the stage first, Mr. David Galavergo, or Galigo, Chief HR Officer of JG Summit Holdings. Palakpakan natin si Sir Gali. Also joining us is Dr. Ricardo Havison, Acting Medical Director of Belcans Pharma. Palakpakan natin si Dr. Ricardo. And our last panelist, Dr. Mariel Tan or Maria Eloisa Tan, AVP and Head of Health Risk Management of People Solutions. I would also like to call up to moderate our panel, the chair of the MAP Health Committee, president and owner of CardioSource Medical Equipment, Mr. Gerald L. White. Let's give them all a round of applause. There are microphones on the floor for our use in asking questions. There are also some questions that we've already set in place. If you would like to participate in the discussion with the microphones, please be brief, refrain from making speeches, and wait to be acknowledged by myself. And I will now be navigating and moderating. Gerald, why don't you take the floor, please?
Well, first of all, good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for attending, and I hope everyone enjoyed the delicious lunch. As mentioned by Pia earlier, a moment ago, there are microphones on the floor. As I look around, I see them on the opposite ends. And these microphones are available for your use in directing your questions. Please wait to be acknowledged first before you ask your question. Please be brief in asking any questions you have, and we'll ask that you please refrain from a filibuster or making it a personal deal. But to start, I want to give some perspective before I ask the first set of questions that we consider foundational questions. So how do we get started? How do we get here? As a health committee for MAP, we've had several meetings trying to determine exactly how we're going to focus our efforts. You know, as you heard from Undersecretary Domingo, that there's a lot of areas of concern that we have as a nation around healthcare. But you said something, Undersecretary of Health. You said that hypertension is a major problem and it has to be addressed. So when we looked at what's available for us as a topic to discuss for our panel, what we thought would be helpful is that, let me back up a second. So as we got ready for this meeting, we said, what area we want to focus on that matters to members of MAP? Because our first charge, Dr. Lim gave us to make sure that we take care of our members of MAP. And the other thing Dr. Lim asked us to do when he took over is, let's not be a committee or let's not be an organization that's known for just doing tasks. Let's come up with measurable, actionable things that we can actually do and quantify later on. So I wanted to give that as a backdrop. So before the questions start, part of what you talked about, Undersecretary Domingo, was about hypertension, and you looked at cost. And if I look at what Dr. Mercado did a year ago, today, basically, a year ago when he was here speaking to our MAP members, he said that he outlined the top areas of concern that PhilHealth, and he's the president and CEO of PhilHealth, has as a priority concern, priority A listed. Number one was ischemic heart disease, right? Basically what that means is people have heart attacks, hypertension related. The number two area was stroke. And number 6 on the list was hypertension. So that brings me to the first question. I just needed you guys to have that backdrop so we understand what it is that we're talking about, and then what we as MAP members and as an organization can do to help our members. So first question, what are your views on the best 2 or 3 specific actions that either the government or companies can take to help minimize the cost of chronic diseases to all peers, specifically hypertension? So I'll let you be the first to answer, sir.
Thank you, Gerald. It's actually, if you look at costs, the number one claims in terms of procedures of PhilHealth is hemodialysis. It's the most popular package and also the highest in claims. But we don't want dialysis left and right. The top 2 causes of dialysis, number 1 is diabetes. So diabetes leading to chronic kidney disease. And then number 2 is hypertension, or as the doctors would say, a hypertensive glomerulosclerosis. Fancy term for high blood pressure is gonna scar your kidneys. If you have a program, and we do have it, like YAKAP, that is being implemented not just in a public center, but I'm pretty sure there are labor laws and occupational health and safety that require, after a certain cutoff in number of employees, I think 200 is the magic number, you have to have a nurse, I think. And then after a certain number, you have to have a doctor. If your company has a primary care clinic, and you have a doctor, you have laboratory facilities, or if not facilities, you have memoranda of agreement with laboratories outside, or send out as they say. And if you have a pharmacy or a contract with a pharmacy, then you might be due to become a YAKAP facility. And your company gets to get the capitation from PhilHealth, on condition that you list not only those that are in your company, but probably also their relatives. We do it in the DOH. So the DOH is a government agency. We have our own wellness clinic, company clinic, and it is YAKAP accredited. That's where a number of us, myself included, will get our maintenance medications for hypertension.
So this is in addition to any HMO coverage that their employees may have?
Yes. In fact, the HMOs might be interested to find out if you have this arrangement because your HR might be able to negotiate the inclusions of your HMO plan. Don't let them, they will try to lure you, oh, we cover hypertension meds. Tell them, but that's in Yakap. Cover something else.
That's good to know. If I can get the other panelists to weigh in on that same question. So the question again is, what are your views on the best 2 or 3 specific actions, it can be just one, that the government or companies in this regard can take to help minimize the cost that we were just talking about with hypertension?
Yeah, thanks, Gerald. From the company's point of view, and this is from the HR, I'm hoping we have some HRs in the crowd. I'm usually not at MAP, I'm at PMAP with PMAP, but thank you for inviting us. Coming off from what Yusek mentioned, I think a lot of the what I call statutory and things that are compliant are actually very helpful already. The first level is that if many of the companies here do not have that set, you have to have that. That's the minimum threshold. These are clinics as the first line of defense and data sources as well. You're looking at how we can help really work very well with PhilHealth and provide all the information possible to employees. Because admittedly, a lot of them don't know what PhilHealth can offer. In fact, the coverage has expanded to a level that is, I think, unheard of for many years, and many of them don't know it. So it's our job to tell the employees that this is so. So the first level is just statutory. You'll say, yeah, but that's compliance. Compliance itself is helpful enough because you take a look at what the government provides. Sapat na po yun. But it can be better, no? Such as you have the Consulta program. The second level is if you are in control of your data. I'm not talking about individual health data. I'm talking about data related to HR stuff like retention. If you look at retention, you look at what we call organizational health. These are very useful because when you look at that, a lot of hypertension doesn't come from just purely medical, but it's social, it's your workplace, it's the pressure from your boss. Do you have psychological safety embedded in your company? And are there, you have to look out for abusive or, I guess, lots of friction in the workplace. I can't speak because I'm the only one who's not a doctor in this panel, and also not a health expert, but we see where DOH helps us out. We see where public and private sector helps us out. But the part to be done for HRs who are here in this room or any of the practitioners is that you have to look out for organization health. And the data will prove that, right? The other data set we're very excited about is when you get a consolidation of what your organization has in terms of hypertension, what are the mortality rates and why. So you can't get it for each individual because that's against data privacy laws, but you can get it holistically and understand what are the bigger campaigns that you do. I think in most of the companies in MAP, we do the typical things like fun runs and all these things, right? But you have to take measure, what are those things serving if your stats are not related to those particular chronic diseases, no? The last portion is what I alluded to, culture, because we're always trying to find out, they always think that HR's job is to reduce the cost of healthcare to the employees, or cost of health, right? What culture does, which is again I mentioned, how well your managers manage, how well the structure is run, and are you true to your word and your values? These are very abstract and amorphous items, but if you think about culture, culture actually reduces the cost to the employee's health. And that's our goal. It's very hard to reduce the healthcare cost. Medical inflation is at least, 15-18%. I can't control that. If the HMO increases the rates, I can't control that either. I can negotiate. What I can build though is culture. Again, very abstract, but I think all of us in this room have felt stress from work. And that is a harder thing to take a look at attribution, but there is some correlation to that. So I think culture is a big part.
As business leaders, that number you mentioned, 15 to 18%, is not sustainable. It's not sustainable in the long term for any corporation, and it's going to present a major obstacle to profitability. So my question is for our cardiologists on the panel. So Dr. Rick, this is your wheelhouse, hypertension, cardiology. If you please can weigh in on this topic about 2 or 3 specific actions, at least from a clinician's perspective, that companies or the government can take to help mitigate this problem that we have, cost-wise.
Yeah. Actually, I'm wearing two hats right now. I'm wearing a hat of a cardiologist as a clinician. At the same time, I'm wearing a hat of an entrepreneur. So basically, when you say healthcare, it's also an enterprise risk. So there is a cost. So an employee that is very productive right now is behind the book, it's depreciating asset. So we have to look at these persons. What I saw Dr. Domingo's presentation of the DOH programs, but what we need is to fill in the gap. Actually, they have the effort from primary prevention to urgent care, but these chronic diseases are not a one-time disease. These are chronic diseases are long-time diseases, hypertension, diabetes, dyslipidemia, and 1 out of 4 Filipinos right now have hypertension. 1 out of 4 are smokers. Half of the population are obese, maybe. So look at the numbers. So once you hire these persons, they are already metabolically deranged. So these numbers, you cannot see it on the resume, you cannot see it on the curriculum vitae, you cannot see it on what they submit to the HR, but they are metabolically deranged from the start. And we have a new data that Filipinos are, half of the Filipino adults are physically inactive. That is from the Asian perspective. But wait, there's more. 93% of adolescents in the Philippines are physically inactive. We are second to Korea, South Korea. So those numbers, once you hire the person, HR is already a big problem. So what I can see here is we need to fill in the gap of managing early detection and controlling the risk factors. So just give your employees 3 questions. What are your numbers? Identify the 5 numbers. What are your numbers? What is your risk? And then what you can do with the risk. So just 3 questions, it can really help your businesses.
Those numbers are staggering, and I'm sure it's not something that most people in the room want to hear. You know, you said you have to manage the risk. And when I look at Dr. Tan sitting over there, I know this is also her wheelhouse, working as in the brokerage field, having advised corporations on this very topic. Please share with us your views on this topic. Thank you.
Thank you. I do agree with the esteemed gentleman at the panel, but let me answer that through the lens of an insurance broker. We view our role as risk architects, where we bridge corporate resources with the government's initiatives. Complementary care. We have the Buka centers for urgent care, the Yakap centers, PhilHealth Yakap centers for primary preventive care. Integrate that with your HMO benefits, that mitigates the cost. In our language, that's what we call stabilizing the loss ratio. Golly would know about this. So what is that? We want to ensure for the private employer that the claim availments are lower than the premiums paid. Why? Because that is sustainability for the private employer. This is a win-win. For the employee, health management of the medical condition. For the employer, we stabilize the loss ratio, protect increases in premium renewals equals plan susceptibility. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to go back to Undersecretary as well. But before I do that, a couple things that stand out to me that was brought up. I know Dr. Rick referenced identifying those employees who are at risk and prevention. And that ties into what Dr. Mercado of PhilHealth said last year to us. And it also ties into part of your talk. One of your last 3 or 4 slides, you talked about HMOs and APEs. And you said companies have to do more. right? Because when I read that, you went over that slide rather quickly, but I honed in on that and I thought, okay, so let's go to question number 3. I'm going to skip question number 2 because I want to give time for the audience to be able to ask any questions that they may have. With that as a backdrop, they need to do more than APEs and the typical HMOs or the fun runs that you talked about, Gully, right? What role do you see deliberate health literacy, which you referenced, having on preventing this problem that we're all describing? Undersecretary?
A lot of the problems in health can be overcome by the right information. We call it information asymmetry. Often, doctors have this information, then it's a matter of you seeing a doctor, but that does not happen often, not in a wellness sense. So maybe that is one area of work that when the slide said do more, it's not necessarily more APEs, but more than APEs. More than your annual physical exam, which is a good thing because you actually check on the health status. That is just a cross-section of what happened if it's on an annual basis between the last APE and your current APE. But whether or not your cholesterol went up, did you do something about the food inside your cafeteria? Have you been serving more lechon? You do know what lechon is, of course.
Of course.
Of course, right? So have you been serving more lechon or have you been serving more chop suey, vegetables, or something like that? Or is your chop suey salty or not for hypertension? So even something like intervening, and what drinks are you selling inside your your office cafeteria? Because often what is quickly available to them at the point of work is what becomes their habit. That's one. Number 2, there are some offices, particularly health ministries, where, and also local health offices, where at a certain point, I think every hour or every 2 hours, there is a nice chime that comes in, and then, this is interesting, everyone is required to stand up and move around, maybe just for a few seconds, and then sit down again, because sitting is the new smoking. Our bodies were not designed to be sitting down. That's the reason why human beings stood erect with 2 feet up. We're not supposed to be seated. We're not supposed to be on all fours. Makes you wonder. So those things, behavioral prompts, those are low-cost interventions. And my final point for this question is the Health Promotion Bureau of the DOH is working on what we call healthy settings. There is a technical working group, and I think the Department of Labor is part of it, where we have what you call healthy workplaces, which includes this. And let's not forget mental health also. As already mentioned by Gully, that is a very big concern that can also lead to psychosomatic problems, hypertension, headaches, etc., because you have a boss that keeps breathing down your neck.
Why were you looking at me when you said that? Okay.
Yeah. If I can just add, Gerald. So I was watching a YouTube video this morning. It's one from the TED Talks. It was from, I think, it's Kit Diaz. He's an exercise scientist. So, the title was, You Have to Move More. Okay? So, meaning, even if you do your regular exercise, but when you're at the office straight for 8 to 10 hours, you really need to move because it can lower the blood sugar. At the same time, getting to be sedentary at the office will increase your fatigue, will decrease your mood. So look at the intersection, increase fatigue, decrease your mood. So in the event, this will compounded into a chronic cardiovascular disease. So what his instruction or his recommendation is that we need to have this culture of movement. So you need to, his example is that he has an experiment with 2,000 employees in the US. So every hour, each employee has to move 3 to 5 minutes, take the stairs, go brisk walking every hour. And the data showed that the productivity of each employee is improved. The baseline numbers improve. So I think we can address that in the private sector. At the same time, based on Dr. Domingo, the programs of the government doesn't reach the private companies. It reaches the local hospitals, it reaches the national the government hospitals, but the programs in smoking, the programs in hypertension, the programs on kidney diseases, it doesn't reach the private sector. I think there should be something in the private sector or a private company that can really echo what the programs of the DOH.
So Gully, the title of our meeting is Economics of Healthcare. And since that's obviously something you have to be concerned with in your current role, back to that question, deliberate health literacy and the constraints you're working within from a financial perspective, what are some things you believe that can change from a corporate, when you talk with corporations, that can help mitigate the problem that we're discussing right now?
So, Gerald, where we're coming from, let me try to connect that to what Yusek was talking about in terms of ensuring that the information gets to the right places, right? And then I'll connect that to costs. What's very important for us is that you guys have to demand from your HRs to be updated with these things that the public sector is providing that you may not have a radar for, because they're available, they're efficient. It's just that maybe it's not reaching the employees. No. The second thing you demand is if you do make information campaigns, it's related to workplaces. In our workplace, taking away all the campaigns, day-to-day behavior, standing tables. So most of our tables are standing tables at executive level. We start with them because they're mostly Gen X and baby boomers. We want them to ensure that they're standing most of the time and moving around. And these are little changes in workplace, right? How much does that cost? Not very much. Okay. The next thing we want to do is ensure that they make better health decisions as easy as possible. We need to get our executives, our rank and file, our supervisors to make decisions easy, that's good for them, and make the hard decisions harder. The wrong decisions harder. For example, if we tell them, we have simple things like the pantry says, please bring your own baon. Baon is takeaway or your own things from home. Why? And we give them recipes. Because if you create your own food from the house, typically it's simple and it's healthy, it's cheaper. You still have the option to use the cafeteria or the mall, but we do little things that change everyday behavior. And the costs go down as well, right? For themselves, in terms of economic costs, even for their own dining. No? The last part that we look at is, I'll talk a little bit about ecosystem plays in our company. So the Gokongwei Group is, as you know, involved in airlines, food, we're in property, we're also in HMO under MaxiCare. And one of the biggest help is that it's easy for them to check out and go and check diagnostics or even do a quick visit to the clinic. Why? Because for us, it's very stressful to actually go to a hospital these days. ERs are full, doctors are too busy, it's a huge industrial complex. So our HMO, MaxiCare, it's a bit of a plugging here, we do have primary care clinics. I'm sitting next to Paolo talking about the same thing, right? The clinics are very helpful because it's so easy to enter, there's no LOAs needed. Our utilization rates are much better because it's controlled and it's a more welcoming place. So I have to go to a hospital, so I have to line up, I have to park and all these things. It's a very seamless clinic experience. Of course, what we want to do is, hopefully they don't visit at all. They just hit the clinics locally and that's it. Because we feel that the best hospital experience is no hospital experience at all. We don't even want them going to the hospital. So there's a lot of information campaigns that lead to daily behavior. And those will read down to costs, which you're asking about, Gerald, right? Our costs, what we worry about is utilization ratios. And if we do that, the HMO is happy, the employee is happy, we're happy. And if you're talking about costs, these are the things that we try to prevent. And these are all mitigations, not to when they're ready. It's all preventive. It's also, I call it, it's a lot of, not maintenance, but ensuring that they are coming to workplace that is in their favor. Right? And the costs that have to do with any medical, illness or such is mitigated by all these particular day-to-day actions. And guys, you need to demand your HRs to do this. Because why? Because the costs are tangible. The costs are tangible. People getting sick, HMO costs, utilization costs, and loss ratios. You can't say, well, the guy got sick, it's an absenteeism thing. Not just productivity, but typically the cost will skyrocket.
Because it clearly has an impact on employee engagement, productivity, absenteeism. So I'll give Dr. Tan, let her be the last to answer before we move to Q&A with the audience.
Very much agree, Golly. So for health literacy, in our corporate setting, that is not a vague wellness strategy. That is very much a concretized strategy. What are those again? Optimization of your corporate clinic, your clinic on site. Capture simple diseases there so your employees do not need to go out and avail. What is the effect of external availment? Cost availments increase in the HMO premium for the employer. Second is we just want to share at Lockton Philippines what we are actively doing right now. We are coordinating, partnering with private entities who work directly with PhilHealth Yakap so that we bring them on site where employees can register and then avail of their benefits. What is the effect for the company? That becomes one of the frameworks for their chronic disease management. If we have that, we lower the costs of medical care, then we sustain the plan, the health plan, for both employee and employer. Thank you.
Thank you. Undersecretary, I know I said that was going to be the last one. I just want to comment and close it out to the audience after this, I promise. Your slide said, deepen employee healthcare investments, go beyond, was the words you used, annual physical exams in HMOs through prevention, like Doc Rick was talking about. You mentioned vaccinations, nutrition, chronic care, mental health, and primary care. You know, for me, I have two roles I feel up here. I'm an employer, and we're nationwide as well. And one of the things that I'm seeing as a trend, which is a nice trend, right now it's happening mostly in Mindanao, is that going beyond APEs, we're seeing more and more corporations expanding the type of diagnostic things they do during APEs. It's beyond the basic 5. It's more involved with identifying those patients who are at a risk of hypertension. And so we're seeing more and more people, primarily in the Mindanao region right now, in Davao in particular, that are doing that. So I know my co-moderator here may have a question, or I'll let Undersecretary Domingo be the one to close it out before we turn it over to the panelists. Any further comments we want to have based on what you've heard so far?
So deepening the investments, from my perspective, from the DOH perspective, should not necessarily mean more tests. I think I've heard a lot of inputs from my 3 colleagues here on the panel that there are other areas of investment in prevention because screening is a hit or miss. To begin with, if your index of suspicion of having a chronic disease is lowered by your behaviors, you wouldn't even need that test because I guarantee you someone who is eating right, who is exercising, will probably get a cholesterol range which is within normal limits. So why go into the LDL, et cetera, when you can actually, or why do a 2D echo to an employee who is in his mid-40s, who is okay in terms of diet, because chances are the ejection fraction, as the doctors will say, of the heart of that employee is still within normal. So tests should be deployed only on a risk basis, but when needed, they should be available.
Well said. So I'll turn it. Any last words for anybody else? That's it? Yeah, okay, well, thank you very much. We will turn it over to our audience. If anyone, I don't see anyone at the microphones. Anyone has any question?
Actually, there was a phone-in question earlier. Oh, there, go ahead. Go ahead, sir. Please introduce yourself.
This is Professor Macaranas, Management Education and Industry Linkages. A question to the entire panel. To solve all the problems you share with us, data is needed. And data is hard to get by because the Philippine Statistical Authority collects it on an annual basis. But when you had a pandemic, you had an immediate data generation. And this is my question to you. There is a National Education Commission that requires all education institutions to practically work theory into practice. In the next 10 years, all universities, colleges, senior high schools will be required to be practical about what they teach in accounting, economics, engineering, nursing, and medicine. Healthcare is not only about nursing and medicine. It is about communities. Take a look at the title of this forum, Economics of Healthcare, Strong Companies. You talk about MAP companies, but thriving communities, the entire nation. What are your thoughts of using students informed on healthcare community issues at the level of your own companies doing support research? Because research through media, multimedia, is now necessary for all of us to thrive in the 21st century. Thank you.
Who would like to take that first?
I agree 100% that we really need the data when it comes to our healthcare and when it comes to our employees. But in addition to that, the company should be open to this kind of what we call the student or the school engagement when it comes to those kind of studies. And in doing so, we can really get the actual data. But I'd like to put that into the reference that once we have this kind of healthcare data of the employees, my suggestion is if okay with Gali, so we can have this as a dashboard health data, so we can really track. At the same time, you just not act on when the event happens, but you can really see the journey of these employees towards a very productive health status.
Yeah. Hi, Poch. Good to see you again. I think the question really relates to how do we use the education sector, the students, to gather this kind of data within the community. In JG Summit, we're in many communities around the nation because of our footprint. No? What we do, Poch, is largely looking at not just medical data because we're looking at what the community needs the most. So the stats we get are, for example, is it an education problem in this LGU? Is it a water problem in this LGU? Is it a mangrove issue? No, depending if we're in the tourist areas. So you're right. No, there is a need for health level statistics. Getting the universities to help out is very powerful. When we were running our petrochemical company, which we've slowed down since last year in Batangas, we work very closely with the engineering schools nearby. No? These are 10-kilometer proximity. We hire them as well. No? So we asked them to do research on mangroves. No? Again, not a health item, but your question is, can you utilize students to provide more real-time data? Yes. And again, either your community relations, the people in this room as executives, you need to demand that from whether community affairs or your HR, because it's a good community building exercise. You create better relations with the schools, you get actual on the ground data, and it provides that good relationship with them for a longer period. Of course, it's a lot of social listening, right? But if you don't follow through, then that's a shame. You know, you have the data, but you don't follow through. Gathering the data is already one step for relationship building. Just like we do in a lot of companies, a lot of you are familiar with employee listening. No? These are engagement scores. So that's another point of data, Poch, where it's actually gathered through surveys from the employees. And as it's filtered up, you have to address it. And a lot of them have to do with psychological safety, culture, health, practices related to what the workplace is like. If you gather it but you don't address it, then you just lost the ball. Sayang naman if you don't take that. So answer is yes, it's possible. It's a great relationship builder, but it takes time. You have to find schools within the vicinity because they will support you as long as you sponsor it. And it's related to the current problems. You can't talk about, let's say you talk about cardiac issues when there is really no problem there. So is it a water problem? Is it a garbage problem, etc.?
Okay, next person on the microphone, please.
Yes. Good afternoon. I'm Mike Makatangay, Vice Chair for Membership. Thank you, Yusek, Albert, and to all the panelists for sharing insights. My question is, I'm sure we do benchmarking with other countries, especially in ASEAN countries, with regard to healthcare. How do we fare with our ASEAN neighbors, and what are the best practices, if any, that we can learn from them, and also the best practices that we're doing, which we also can share with them. Thank you.
That is a great question that is often hard to answer because, of course I will give you an answer, but preliminary in my thoughts, how would you want to compare the health system of the Philippines? Is it affordability? Is it access? But to standardize, usually there are two indicators in the Sustainable Development Goals, 3.8.1 and 3.8.2. 3.8.1 is service coverage. 3.8.2 is financial risk. So let's just isolate those two things. In terms of service coverage, it is an issue of locality and equity. I mean, we do have Asian hospitals, St. Luke's, big hospitals, Qualimed at primary care, and so on and so forth. But where are they located? Often they are in the big city centers. Thankfully, some of them are starting to branch out. You have co-op hospitals, etc. So that is on the treatment side. On the preventive side, this is where primary clinics, the notion of general practitioners, the way they do it in the UK or in Singapore and in other British systems, would be helpful in the Philippines. So, quick answer, are we there? Are we not there? We are getting there, but we need to diversify locations in terms of access. Of course, we have the best doctors and the best nurses. There is no question about that. Internationally, no one disputes a Filipino nurse, a Filipino doctor. In fact, so many countries are asking the Department of Health to have bilateral agreements so that we can send our nurses to them. Brief answer only. Second point, financial risk protection. You saw the graph earlier that I showed. Now, while it is showing a decreasing maybe by 2, 3, and the goal of our program is hopefully we hit 30. It's a long shot considering there's only around 1, 2 years left. We don't even count the election year because nothing happens during election year except elections. So having said that, I'm just being realistic. So having said that, maybe we might, now it's 41.2% out of pocket. We might be able to hit 38 or 39 realistically. But the goal somewhere down the line, 5, 10 years is maybe 30 or less. Again, it becomes who feels this? I guarantee you that the zero balance billing program is working for the poor, for the indigent. They're enjoying zero fees. But now the next challenge, and you're seeing the executive secretary articulating it, is us, a lot of us here, the middle class. Like, come on. A lot of us spend 60,000 pesos per year to pay to PhilHealth. That is actually your ceiling, right? So most employees are actually paying 60K per year. And then what do we get? That's why every time there is an issue with PhilHealth, it becomes so viral, so popular, because it's the middle class. So we're working on that.
Great. Thank you, Yusek Albert.
So that was the last question. You know what? Yes, sir. Last one, please.
I am Anthony Robles. I'm an independent director of Alliance Global Group, Inc. The YACA program is indeed a very good program. Okay? We are all entitled to it. Practically all Filipinos, probably except the foreigners. That's 20,000 pesos a month, 20,000 pesos a year, and 1,700 pesos for consultation. But I noticed there are not too many primary care clinic accredited. There are not too many doctors that are accredited. So why don't we expand the coverage? Accredit more laboratories, accredit more doctors, accredit more primary care clinic. They are accepting my credit card, but they're not accepting my YACA. Okay? I am sure these primary care clinics, the drug stores, the doctors, the laboratory, would be willing, more than willing to be accredited as long as they get paid immediately in the same manner they get paid with credit cards.
Thank you, and if I may give a quick answer. So those are the issues we are working on right now. It boils down to the amount that is paid and the speed by which they get paid. My own doctor, my personal doctor, is not YACAP accredited, so I feel you. Because I still go to him, because he's the one I trust ever since 2 decades ago. But how do I get him to be accredited? He says, but the capitation is too low. By the way, it's not 1,700 per person to be used. It's actually risk pooling. So if you have one physician can empanel 20,000 patients. So that's 1,700 multiplied by 20,000 available for use by all 20,000 patients. But we hear complaints or grievances that even at that model, the 1,700 is still not enough and might have to be adjusted. We're working on it. Number two, quick answer, the speed of payments. A lot of providers are hesitant on getting accredited by PhilHealth because it will take, well, before, it used to take around 60 or more days. PhilHealth right now was able to bring down turnaround time on average to less than 21 days within the calendar month. And they're still aiming for much lower. So those two parameters, if the payments are higher and faster, we're hoping to increase, and we agree with you, we need more providers on board.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
I guess
Gali,
my only
please.
follow-up is that we've heard good things from Paulo Borromeo's group, AC Health, and their generic drug. Medyo plugging, no? Pero kalaban namin yan eh. No, but I think for the good of the nation, I think for the community also, it's helpful to look at also the drugstores because that is a major pain point, no? The cost of that is so obvious that Paulo was telling me, sometimes you have a 7-day reseta, you only pay for 5 because you cannot afford it. So Yusek will talk later because we also have our own set, South Star, TGP, and our other drugstores. We'd love to hear better stories also from Paulo. We can learn a lot. And also the primary care clinics for MaxiCare.
Thank you very much. Let's give the panel and our Yusek Albert a round of applause. It is just the beginning of the discussion on healthcare economics. I would like to now invite the governors and Dr. Lim up on the stage for a photo op. As we know, the networking and conversations after the GMM, very important. It brings forward what we know are values that we have learned. We'd like to collaborate with one another after each GMM. So also committee members, health and wellness committee members. Picture. Thank you once again, Yusek, Domingo, Mr. Go, Dr. Havison, and Dr. Tan. A round of applause, please. The general membership meeting is now adjourned. We will now see you on August 12 for the next MAP general membership meeting. Please continue your networking and conversations. Thank you and good afternoon.